Hello and welcome to the Case Closed podcast. This is the second episode. We are just a couple weeks away from the upgraded podcast setup. We've got some really cool gear coming for Hunt. He's going to have a cool background. He's going to have a cool microphone. So it's going to be really cool, and I'm going to have the same. So we're still right and dry, but we got to make sure we bring and the podcast y'all anyway. So we're here. Hunt has picked up a new case. He may or may not be able to tell us about it. We'll find out later in the podcast, but that's an exciting topic for the future that will be coming to the Case Closed podcast. It's a big one, so y'all be excited. Not only that, but the Cowboys season is about to begin, so there's a lot of talk. Micah Parsons still has not been signed. So with those two things discussed, we got a new case, we've got the Cowboys. Hunt, how are you feeling about those?
Good. Why don't tell me, I've seen some of the Micah Parsons stuff. Why don't you give us a 30-second rewind? What's he saying? Pretend I've never heard about what's going on. Can you give me both sides of the story?
So the story is that Micah Parsons is one of the best defensive players, and so he is due for a contract. Every time a player gets paid and they're one of the best, they get paid the highest ever because inflation exists. So every time a new player gets paid, they get paid a little bit more. So Micah Parsons claims he's been trying to sign the contract for a year or two so he wouldn't have to overprice. But Jerry Jones didn't want to sign it till later. Now we're to now, and Micah has tried to get signed. They don't want to pay him, and so he requested a trade. Now, that's most likely just a negotiation tactic.
Hang on, back up, and I'll just back up. Is Michael Parsons the best? Is he the best player at this position?
Yes.
He's the best player, and
even if he's not, he's top five.
Just you think that, or do NFL analysts?
It is an analyst consensus that he's top five. Nobody disagrees.
Okay. Does anybody disagree that he ought to be paid the most, even though he's not the best?
No.
Okay, so what's the problem?
Jerry Jones.
See, that's an easy out. I think that's an easy out. What does Jerry Jones say the problem is? I've heard him, but you tell me what is
Micah Parsons.
He said what?
Well, he says the problem's money, and he wants to wait. He says a lot of stuff. That's kind of what's hard. He says he wants to wait and get it right, and then he says it's just business, and then he says, I think he just wants publicity, to be honest with you. But what he says doesn't make too much sense half the time. He's like, well, you got to think of the salary cap, and we're like, yeah, but you knew he was going to need to get paid, and everybody else got paid. And you haven't money.
I see, and I even see, even out of you, because you're a fan, and I see this, and I really don't come from this from the standpoint of a fan. I really come from just the standpoint of life, but also in football. Michael Parsons has a contract. Michael Parsons has signed a contract that says he should be in practice today, and he's not in practice today. He's wanting another contract. That contract still has a year on it. So just from the straightforward, hey, we have an agreement, fulfill the obligation of your agreement, he's not doing that. And so, yeah, I hear people say, well, you're supposed to renegotiate your contract the year before. And I understand that. But first and foremost, I think the Micah Parsons fans out there are not recognizing Jerry Jones is paying what he agreed to pay, and Parsons isn't wanting to play. So on the other side of it is Jerry Jones, and I think what Jerry Jones is doing repeatedly is just a terrible job of public relations in a business where people do have to put their body on the line, and they immediately lose all forms of income if they get hurt. Him going public and saying, well, I don't want to pay if they're going to get hurt, and not recognizing the sensitivity of that for these players. Jerry Jones can live for another day. He can go to another day. If somebody gets hurt, he can redraft somebody. But the person that gets hurt that person can't. So I think we got a publicity nightmare in Jerry Jones, and of course all the fans that love to yell at that. And then you have Michael Parsons, who's not clean all the way. I mean, he does have a contract. He just wants
Well,
a
here's
better.
the debate there. He has a contract, but then they wait to pay him, and as a result, they have to pay him about 10 or 12 more million dollars a year. And then Jerry Jones, for the next couple years, just like he did with Dak Prescott, comes out and says, "Oh, well, I had to overpay, so that's why we're not winning." When really, you had to overpay because you wanted to wait, which, yeah, there was a contract, but now you're paying $12 million more for the same quarterback that you could have paid 2 years ago for $12 million less, but you wanted to wait, and so now your excuse is, "Oh, but I'm paying too much." You're paying too much because you chose to pay too much. So what is your thoughts on that?
That's a whole different issue, and I mean, I don't even understand that issue. But with regards to this one, I don't know. I guess whoever has the most guts. Michael Parsons doesn't get paid if he doesn't play, so I guess it's just a matter of whether or not he's willing to go 1 year without getting paid.
Well, he'll play. I'm not worried about that. I just am saying that.
Hey, you're breaking out. I don't know if the video is going to show that, but you break in and out about every 5 seconds. So I don't know if
You're good on
I don't know
this
if the
end.
video
So
will catch that.
yeah. You're good on this end, which is good. That's the main thing that matters. Yeah, that's weird, but you are good on my end. You're not lagging at all, which is weird. So I'm not sure why I am, but on this end, it's good. So that's good. But anyways, all right. We're going to go into one of the big questions that we were talking about in one of the comment sections of your videos, which is, what is a case really worth, and how does one know when they're coming to a lawyer that their case is worth anything?
All right, you went out. Tell me the question again.
All right, sorry. What is a case really worth? And how does someone bringing a case know if their case is worth anything?
Well, what you're talking about, what's the price of life? What's the value that we as a human race put on life? And then with a serious injury, it's a little bit less than somebody losing their life, but it's a loss of their enjoyment of life. And so when somebody says, "What's my case worth?" Well, that's as diverse as people are. When you look at somebody and they've lost their life, or they've lost the enjoyment of life because one of their body parts is no longer working, what is the value of that, and how can you possibly put a number on it? And it's one of the reasons why in our country, and we're known as having the best system, is that we bring 12 strangers and we put them in a box. We don't ask the Supreme Court. We don't ask the mayor of the town or the smartest lawyer from Harvard, because they don't know what 12 reasonable, ordinary peers, people in the community who come in and can sit down and decide what's life really worth. And so when somebody says, "Hey, what's my case worth?" If you find a lawyer that gives you a number, run. Get away from that guy. That's a lawyer trying to get your case that has no clue on what the value of your case is. The value of your case, or the price of quality of life, it's as unique as a diamond. It's as unique as a thumbprint. All of us have a different value there, and it takes a lawyer or a legal team, to dig in and talk to somebody's doctors and talk to their family and talk to how the injury has affected the quality of their life. That's the only way to get the true value. And so I'm always cautious of somebody when you get a phone call from somebody and they want, "What's my case worth?" What are they really saying? What they're really saying is that they're acting like you can go buy it, like you can go buy a gallon of milk at the store. What's it worth? How much money am I going to get? And you just can't do that. You really do got to dig in and see, all right, how has this affected their whole life before you can get to the value of that. So that's always a funny question. And Clients don't always like that answer, but it's the truth.
It's super interesting because the amount of advertisements I've seen of people or marketing companies or lawyers saying, "Oh, take this couple minute survey, we'll tell you what your case is worth," or "We'll tell you the true value of your case," or what is, all the time. So hearing you say that is very eye-opening because they're marketing to random people all the time that they know the value.
Yeah, I find that, and there's a lot of good. Most personal injury lawyers are good guys, smart, competent, but you don't normally see those guys on TV. But you're seeing all these people that say, "Hey, fill this out, or call us now. We can achieve this result." That's marketing. And there's a few lawyers that are doing that give the rest of us a bad day. You want to run from somebody that says, "Fill out these 3 questions and I'll tell you what your case is worth."
Mm-hmm.
Nope, no chance.
Yeah.
No chance. And if you do go with that, well, then plan on getting a plain vanilla settlement.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want a settlement that actually reflects what you've lost, if you want a settlement that actually balances what you've lost with an amount of money that fairly encompasses the loss of enjoyment of your life and your friends and family, well, you need to go to somebody who's willing to put a team together to figure that out.
That's a really good clip. I like that. That was a good, everything you just said is really good. That's interesting. And what's cool for me is when I learn stuff, I know somebody else is going to learn something because I
hope so.
I know all these answers and I'm learning.
I hope so because it's real. It's real, and what it's the thing I think that's most difficult about my profession is most people in the community don't recognize that there is a difference in lawyers. There is a difference in the approach that's being taken, and it's really just a mindset. It's an attitude. Okay, this is the type of firm we're going to do. This is how we're going to treat our people. That's one way of doing things. Other folks say we're going to scale. We're going to get as many people in and get them in and out as fast as we can. Well, that's a good business model because it makes more money for the lawyer. It's not a great model for the client because each client gets in and gets out without getting the top value. Mm-hmm. To get top value, you've got to look at it. You got to dig in. You've got to find out how this really affected somebody's life. And so it's hard for somebody on the outside to know, okay, which lawyer is which one is just in it for the marketing, which one is really in it and can get me top value. And is it worth it? After paying the lawyer a third, is it worth it? Will they actually get more money or should they just do it themselves? I find that the people that get themselves in the most trouble, are smart people. Mm-hmm. People that are really, really smart and know they're smart, and so they think they can do it on their own. Those are the ones that mess up their cases. I hate to say that. People that get the best on their case will get a lawyer that does want to take time, and the lawyer himself works on their case, not some other non-lawyer, case pusher. But you get a promise from the lawyer that he's going to analyze your case, he's going to put it together, and that he's going to dig his heels in and is willing to get top value even if it takes more time to get us there. And if you find somebody and shop for somebody that'll give you that promise, then that's where you want to be.
That's very interesting. Because I was watching a really bad crash video, and the comment was the girl saying we couldn't even afford a lawyer before, et cetera, we could even get the guy. How often is it that lawyers do like you and they charge nothing, they just take a percent? Or do most lawyers charge up front?
Well, most personal injury lawyers will take it on a contingency fee. So lawyers that take on injury cases, by and large, the norm, I'd say 99% of those types of agreements are going to be contingency. And why is that? Well, the reason for that is most people that are injured out in the real world, whether they're in the workforce and they're at a construction site or it's just some Jane Doe going down the street in a car, is they don't have the money to hire a good, competent lawyer. So somebody with 30 years of experience like me, if you were down in a downtown law firm, you would be billing at $1,000 an hour, $850 an hour. And within 2 weeks of me working on a case, I would have outpriced 99% of my clients. So there's no way for them to get a highly qualified 30-year veteran lawyer that specializes in wrongful death and concussion cases and who has a bank account that can fund and actually prosecute big insurance companies that are high funded. There's no way you could get a lawyer like that if they were billing by the hour. And so that's why we do it on a contingency fee, and it's a great system. It's a great system because it levels the playing field. When somebody that has no money in our country, you have an individual that has no money and no ability to fight a multi-billion-dollar business or a multi-billion-dollar insurance company. The fact that they can hire a lawyer that's at the same level as a multi-billion-dollar insurance company and has the same amount of financial resources to fight the fight with a huge billion-dollar insurance company. The fact that any person can hire that levels the playing field. It gives everybody in Texas and everybody in the country the right to show up in court just as armed, just as ready to present their case. And I love that. I love that because it allows even the little guy to have his say in court fairly with equally competent lawyer representing him, and so that the story can be told. And that's my favorite part of it. The David versus Goliath type of system works in our country because of the contingency fee. And so I'm proud. Some people say, you're gonna you get rich off of the tragedies of other people, and it's just not true. I'm proud that for 3, 4, many times 5 years, I fund, meaning I put the money in, and I use my team to help somebody that there's no way they could fight a billion-dollar company without us. And so I'm proud that we're willing to take on that fight, knowing that we're not going to get paid unless we win. So that's that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what's cool is, it's sad because a lot of people don't know that. Most people think you have to pay the lawyer. Like, they don't know, I get hurt, call a lawyer.
I think two things. I think sometimes we did a survey here at our company. What are the biggest fears people have about hiring lawyers? Number one, they don't trust them. Lawyers are liars. That's the first fear. Number two, that the amount of money that's paid to the lawyer is too much. And so lawyers that do contingency fees, you sign a contract giving away 33%, sometimes more of your case, and they don't see the value in it. And so many times, unfortunately, they decide, I don't see the value in it, I'll just handle it myself, and they get so much less. So much less. Statistically, this is an insurance industry study where the insurance companies did this study and found that people that got competent lawyers got 4 to 5 times more money and 3 times more money in their pocket. And that is why insurance companies really try and push the narrative that getting a lawyer and paying him a third is worse for you. They put that narrative out on purpose, hoping people won't hire an attorney because they know they're going to have to pay more. People get 3, 4 times more when they get a good lawyer. And it's important. You don't just call the guy that's on the billboard. You don't just call the guy that's willing to put his name up on the billboard. You want to call somebody that has a history of going to trial or has a history of helping people get to the right doctor and building their case. But most importantly, that understands that the biggest value to the case is how has this affected their quality of life. So you're right. Most people don't know that. And I refuse to get into the game of just doing TV commercials trying to tell people how tough we are or smart we are or how much money we've made. I just don't like that style. So unfortunately, there's probably lots of people out there that won't ever get to the right lawyer because of that.
Yeah, I think
Unfortunately.
one thing that might need to be pushed more to people is that they don't have to pay up front, because for people who just think they can't afford it, they just give up
Well,
entirely.
and it's interesting that you think that. Do you not, when you see the lawyer ads, do you not see it usually says you don't pay unless you win?
Well, the
You
thing
know,
is,
no
most people
fee
don't
unless
pay
you collect.
attention or remember any lawyer ads. They think lawyers take money and I don't have money. That's what
Mm,
they think. And so
hmm
they get in a car crash, and I remember seeing things like, oh, with all our hospital, like we couldn't even afford to get a lawyer, much less, keep them to win the case. And I was like, so they don't even know. They think you got to pay a lawyer makes money. We don't have that. People think, oh no, I'm hurt and I can't afford to pay for it, and I can't afford to pay for someone to help me. Most people, I mean, at least above 50%.
You know, I it's
No.
that I think I'm hoping I'm hoping the days of ignorance of basic knowledge are of the past. I hope that the AI generation, the Chat GPT or Gronk generation, is going to help people in making decisions about things like hiring lawyers and other professionals. And think about it. They talk about, will AI replace people? Well, AI will replace people that don't have something to offer that's more than just AI. And so lawyers that are just doing the fast paced, in and out, same thing, cookie cutter, they are going to get replaced by AI because AI can do that. But what's not going to replace, what AI is not going to replace, are lawyers that can sit down and, through human consciousness, experience, knowing about life, can put a value on what this person's lost by what's been taken from them, whether their life's been taken from them or their arm's been taken from them. And so what I'm hoping is that when people start chat GPTing and doing their searches are, what lawyer can I get that's worth his salt? What lawyer is known for getting 4 and 5 times more than what people without a lawyer will get? And actually doing the research that there are some lawyers that get more than just your high volume TV lawyers. So I hope that happens. Uh, right now, I'm doing Chat GPT. My name's not coming up,
That's
but
the thing we'll talk
uh,
about later, is I
but if
wonder if there's a
people,
way to get in there.
uh, well, if people looked at the Google reviews, they would see individuals that have commented on what their experience with us is. Uh, but in any event, really, I don't get too beat up about it. God has always provided for us,
Hmm.
and I expect that He'll continue to send people to us that He wants us to help. We
Yeah.
certainly will.
Yeah. So a little off topic, but kind of on the same topic with the Chat GBT and the Gronk. Do you think there's a leading AI that's better than the others? Or do you think they all have their benefits? Or do you think there's one that you need to be getting this knowledge for the future?
I am not educated and informed enough to actually comment on that because there are several platforms. I've been using Chat GPT and I think it just even got upgraded, but I am hearing and recognizing that Gronk actually may be a step ahead. And there are different platforms that are better for different industries. So my plan, of course, is to continue learning.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be out. It's gonna outpace itself. Next year, you're gonna have to learn it again, and the next year, you're gonna have to learn it again.
Hmm.
So there's good news and bad news about that. The good news is, if you get behind, you can catch up. You can
Hmm.
catch up in a year. You're caught up with everybody because it just changed.
Hmm.
That's the good news on that. But the bad news is, man, you can't ever just dig your heels in and just learn one thing and keep repeating it. It is going to be an ever changing world. It's exciting to me. I hope I don't know. I think you ought to be learning it, Reese.
I think there's a lot going, and it's definitely interesting. They're doing a this is a little off topic, but for those listening in on the podcast, there is a series, a TV series coming out that Hunt and I were both a part of that is using AI for the special effects. And so now there's a whole AI special effects
Can we
movie.
show a clip? Can we show a clip
I
of
can play a
me?
clip, and
Hope
it's
you
a
got a
clip of
clip of
you.
me.
And his wife is also in it. Her name is Wendy, if y'all don't already know. She's in the clip as well. They both have lines in the TV show, so it's very fun. But
Can you play? You can't play the clip right now for the podcast viewers.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to like put it on the screen where you'd be able to see it good, but I'll put it like they can see it in the edit.
I actually, I've wanted to be an actor for a long time, but actually, Wendy was better than me. When I
Wendy did
watched
pretty
the
good.
things,
Yeah.
she was more natural.
She did good. It was fun.
She did actually. I thought hers.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really
Hers
fun.
was
I
more
watched it and I didn't. I was happy about it. But with that said, AI has been doing very well in the special effects, movies, video editing, things like that. And there's been a lot of that coming into play where movies are going to get cheaper because you're not going to have to pay for all these special effects. You're just going to be able to use AI to create it. And so AI charges for like credits now, but that'll probably just continue to get cheaper as it gets better and better and more common. And so I think it's just very interesting that there's a lot of areas where it's going to help people like me make big, awesome things without the help of $1 million companies. But it's going to make $1 million companies have to innovate because they're not going to be able to monopolize as easily because everyone has access to smaller stuff. That's the same with social media. Like TV went out of business, or not TV, but like, cable almost went out of business because they've got Netflix now and they've got iPhones and people are using TikTok, and it's like Google's going out because ChatGPT is a thing. Like everything that used to be big is going out and coming in with these new, smaller generational things of technology. And so 50 years looks insanely different than now. I mean, even 20 years, even 10 years from today, it might be a whole different way of doing things.
I think it is.
Yeah, I think that's super interesting.
It's exciting and it's scary at the same time.
Yeah. So this was we were talking about case value, case worth. So we'll finish that topic with this last question. Has there ever been a case for you where when you started and when you ended, you were able to just outdo what you thought was possible with the verdict and you won, and it's just your favorite memory? Is there something like a story like that you would want to tell?
Each case is unique, and each case has a story. That may be one of the most fun things about it, is that no case is exactly right. If you're scaling, if you're doing the deal where it's just in and out and you're churning and burning little bitty car wreck cases, advertising for them and trying to get them in and out, I'm not talking about that. But each of my cases, because each individual is different and each injury affects somebody different, so they're all great stories. I think probably my favorite story is the case that I just ended on the construction site. And what happened is exactly what you said, is that the construction companies continued to deny. They just denied, no, we're not paying. They rolled over a guy backwards, rolled over him, killed him, squashed him right there. It's terrible, terrible story for the widow and the kids. Didn't even drive over and tell them. They didn't even come over and say, sorry, this happened over on our construction site. And by the way, since your husband did have methamphetamines in his system, yeah, we agree it was 70 to 80 days before. It was just still in his body tissue in the autopsy. We're going to use that. We're going to use that he did meth 80 days ago and say he's the cause of his own death. So a case like that, where they're offering you zero and blaming it and being able to help a family go from that grief to a point where there's justice, not just justice in the form of millions and millions, literally multiple millions of dollars for the case, but there's healing because they're able to tell their story and there's healing because there's dignity for a loved one that was killed. And that's one thing that many people don't think about. Many lawyers just advertise that the amount of money. One of my favorite things is the dignity. Because when somebody points at you and says, your fault, it was your husband's fault that he's dead, that type of thing, and being able to turn that right and say, you know what, that's not who my husband was, or that's not who my loved one was, and you get them their dignity back. Many times that's more valuable. I have folks come back and say the most valuable thing was that we were able to tell our story and we got our dignity back when our story was believed. So that's my favorite thing. And just in what you're saying is when it goes from zero to multiple millions and a family that feels like they've been heard and their dignity restored, those are the favorite things. And that best one happened with this wrongful death on the construction site that happened last year.
Well, and I love that you're talking about that, and I think I'll probably put emphasis on that, maybe even make that a mini video, because that's, I think, what sets you apart, and that's what most people, sadly, they see all this terrible stuff on social media, and so they think everywhere's bad. And I mean, there is a lot of bad, but there is a lot of, like, for example, good police officers and then good lawyers like you who are doing the right thing, and they're fighting for people, and they want to help people from the bad people. And so it's fun. It's fun to promote that that's the goal. At the end of the day. So yeah, I love that story, and I like that we keep telling it. I think I hear it a lot, but I like that we repeat it because that's a story we should keep telling. There's no reason that story should keep being told.
I think it is a good story that we probably haven't told enough.
Yeah.
And so thank you for letting me just tell it again, because I think over and over.
And I think we're not done. We'll keep.
Not just car wrecks, but construction sites, and really taking in a family, the whole thing. There's a healing process that can happen by bringing justice and telling the truth, bringing out the truth in a situation. There's healing for everyone.
Heck yeah. Yeah. And that's great. All right, so I've been we talk a lot about concussions all the time, but I want to talk about whiplash, because I've seen a lot of people talking about, is whiplash real? Is it a scam? Is it invisible? And I've heard it's a pretty misunderstood injury. So with that said, when it comes to the invisible injury of concussions, is whiplash what causes concussions? Are they related? What is whiplash in the first place? Because I don't even know. I know you're whipping the car, but what is whiplash compared to a concussion? Explain the invisible injuries.
All right. Well, you're asking a bunch of different questions. So whiplash, are you asking about whiplash, or are you asking about concussions, or are you asking about whether or not a concussion can happen during a whiplash injury? So you may be asking all of that. So we have a video. I don't know if you've shown it before, but we have a video of what a whiplash injury is. Do you have any idea? I mean, do I need to start from the beginning? What do you think most people want to hear?
The biggest
thing. Imagine my head with the top of my hand being somebody's head, and then you've got the spine coming down in the neck and then down into the back. And the spine, if you return it this way, if you look at the spine down the middle, the spine is a spinal cord, which controls the nervous system all the way down to the body. And then there's discs and bones around that. And so the disc and bone protecting that spinal cord. Well, what happens in a whiplash injury is a car hits from behind, and sometimes suddenly, sometimes if somebody's braced, their spinal cord does this. And so it's shaken like that. And so it's shaken like that. And then there's this 8 to 10 pound head that is also anchoring that. And just imagine when you've got something that's weighted up here. And so the weight of that whiplash goes, and many times what happens is a disc that's designed to cushion in between the bones gets herniated. it's broken or it's spread out, and it starts touching the nerves, sometimes touching the spinal cord. And when that injury happens in the neck, from that, the disc comes out, starts to touch the nerves. And I hope you have a video of this when I'm
Yeah.
articulating this. But once that happens, you now have pain, and that pain either radiates down into your arms or your legs. And as long as that disc is pressing on the nerves, you're going to have that pain. Now, at the same time, the brain is up here, and the brain is inside a skull. The best way, I wish I had a doctor in a deposition yesterday that explained it perfectly and just talked about how, and I'm just looking for some type of model, but the brain inside the skull, but when it's not stationary, it's not attached to the skull. So when the skull moves in the whiplash manner, a soft brain, it's got soft tissue. That soft tissue rubs against a hard skull, and so it breaks brain cells. And we all know, the medical industry knows, brain cells don't repair themselves. Once you've broken a brain cell, it's broken. And so if it happens to be a brain cell that sends a signal from this side of the brain to that side of the brain to help you remember something, and now it's broken, well, now you start forgetting things. You start getting frustrated, and you start having symptoms as a result of that concussion injury, which has broken some brain cells. So that's how a whiplash injury, that's how sometimes a minor impact, but that's sudden, can both injure the brain and the neck and have a pretty profound effect on somebody's life.
That's actually super interesting, and I'll want to probably do another video on that later about the brain cells breaking and never repairing. I don't know that I knew that necessarily, and
I've got some videos for you on that. Yeah, I could go through the videos with that on you if you would.
Yeah, because most stuff on the human body heals, so to hear that, like, if you mess your head up, it never heals. And so
it doesn't regenerate. Yeah, it doesn't regenerate. Now, God gave us a whole bunch of brain cells.
Yeah.
And luckily, there are also ways to strengthen what you still have. So all is not lost. We like to instill hope in those that we represent who've suffered serious brain injuries that ultimately end up altering their life, really. But install hope of there are certain treatments that if that treatment's not denied, anytime an insurance company is going to deny it, but if the treatment's not denied, they can learn to cope, have some coping mechanisms that they learn to try and make life as normal as possible. But yes, there are certain things, like a fingernail, it grows back. You scratch your arm and your skin grows back. You break your brain cells, they don't grow back.
It's very interesting, and like I said, we'll probably go into that more in the future. But these are things, and I remember, we had talked about wanting to do more education, and I think that's what's really good about what we're talking about, is this is a lot of just educational stuff people, if they're willing to listen, need to know. Because most people...
What would you think about next time if I brought brain models and different examples and kind of showed how the injury...
do that for the podcast. I think we can dedicate some videos to that. Like, we can that can be something we talk about. We'll write this down, but making some direct videos, just educating on some of the stuff we're talking about in the podcast that we really want to dig in more on. That could be a great marketing strategy for just educating people that they'll want to come back. So let's talk about that in the future. And for people listening, if y'all want to see that, definitely comment or, let us know that you would be interested in learning the just some of the educational side of this.
Well, let me say on that real quick, on that shout out that you're doing, in the event somebody actually does watch the podcast, the key is to identify the symptoms. You don't always know when you've suffered a concussion, but you can identify the symptoms, and usually it's friends or family. Statistically, the emergency room overlooks 85 to 90% of all brain injuries, all concussion injuries. They overlook them because they're looking for, it's an emergency room, right? So they're looking for, are you going to die? And if you're not going to die, all right, then go see your doctor. So they're not looking for subtle changes in brain function. Mm-hmm. But that's where husbands and wives and children and coworkers come in because they can say, Johnny used to be really good at adding up math. Now he can't keep in track of his lunch money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so if you or a loved one or somebody that has gone from being somebody that was very articulate to now
Yeah.
having word finding problems, or they used to be very patient and kind, now they get frustrated and confused for no reason. You then look, okay, what has just happened? What's happened recently in your past that may have caused this? Maybe it was a whiplash injury, or maybe it was something else. But once you start to have those symptoms, if you get into a good neurologist, they're going to be able to run the testing, to see if you have the deficits that are associated with a traumatic brain injury.
Yeah, and that's like, yeah, we've talked about that, but it's something I want to keep telling people, because the more and more that if I was, it's great because they don't teach. I mean, even people who are not the doctor. I mean, I know plenty of people who work at places like that, and they don't even know that. So they work there, and they don't know to look for concussions, and they work
Right.
at ER. They don't even know at all to look. It's not even that they're trying not to look; they just don't even know. So, yeah, very interesting. All right, we got one more thing we're going to talk about today's podcast, and then we're going to close out today's show. We're going to talk about insurance companies, and let's just talk about what were some of the tricks that insurance companies use to try to avoid paying.
Well, first, the thing
Like,
that
how do you beat them in court? Like, how does Hunt go and beat him in court? Like, tell us the fun.
you want to talk about beat them in court, or you want to talk about from step one?
Well, let's talk about it all, because we want to educate people. But yeah, both.
Well, the broad majority of people, and I'm talking about 75 to 80% of the people, is where the insurance company wins the first game. Is they tell them, "Hey, you can't do that. This is all you can get." And most people go, "Oh, okay, that's all I can get. Well, mail me the $2,500 if that's all I can get." And they hang up. So the best thing that the insurance company has going for them is a $1 billion marketing campaign to put on TV that you're in good hands, right? You're in good hands with us, and we're going to take care of you. Those types of things, and then a phone call to a person that's not trained, and they hear this is, and many times it's their own insurance company. They hear, well, you've got no other option. One thing people don't know, it's not against the law to lie. It's bad. It's bad to lie. It's a sin, but it's not against the law. And so when you have somebody informing you on phone that this is the way it is and you don't know any other way, that's where statistically we know 70 to 80% of people settle their case. Because they think, and the insurance company will tell them, if you go get a lawyer, well, you're not even going to get the 2,500. He'll take a third. You'll be left with, 2/3 of 2,500. So that's where they win that game. So you talk about tricks. The tricks of the trade is that they have more knowledge, and they also have done studies, psychological studies, to know what to say to somebody that's been hurt to keep them from hiring a lawyer who can advise them on the truth. That's the best thing to do. After that, they often do that also with the attorneys. And if you get an attorney that doesn't go to trial or doesn't know that ultimately they're going to fold, ultimately they're going to do what you ask them to do, as long as you've got a true story. If I got a true story, I know that in the end, I get to tell 12 people on a jury. I get to see real people that are going to hear a real story. And I know they're going to know what the truth is. So because I know that, now it's just a question of, am I willing to wait 2 to 3 years to get in front of people who I know will know the truth? And a lot of lawyers don't want to do that. They don't want to do 2 or 3 years of spending time and money on a case. And frankly, some cases just aren't big enough to justify that amount of time and money. And so you have to settle them for less. But that's what the insurance company has going for them: time and money. That's the power they have. they can say, no, take us to trial. And many times I'll have folks that are like, Hunt, I don't want to wait 3 years. Let's just take it. So with every case certainly that I'm going to put my heart and soul into it, I ask my clients, they've got to commit. They've got to commit that they're willing to go all the way to get to 12 people who know what the truth is, that'll hear the truth. And so I say, are you willing for us to go all the way and tell your story to 12 people and be okay with how the 12 people see the truth? Are you okay with that? If you are, I will put hundreds of thousands of dollars into this case. I will put 3 and 4 years of my time into it, because I know that real people who hear the truth and who take their oath as a juror, and they take that oath seriously, they're going to understand the truth and put a fair value on it. I know that. I like that. I'm willing to do that commitment. But we want to represent people that are willing to go that far, and you can't go and then just stop and give in when the insurance company wears you out. I can tell by your body language you're tired of listening.
No. I was distracted I was trying to get the dog. I was muted because, anyways. So no, I was listening to what you're saying, and that's what I'm talking about. Is there's so much that goes in. I mean, not like 99% of people don't know all this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think the best way? The thing is, I think it's they don't know it, but they also don't care. Most of the time, you don't care until you've got the problem. And then when you've got the problem, you want to hurry and make a decision, and so you many times don't make a good one.
Yeah.
I'm hoping ChatGPT and AI will
help with that. And that's what because I mean, for me and you, I've gotten good at trying not to do that because I want to make the best choice. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to figure out, for one, just educating people that make sure you contact a lawyer, because you're not going to have to pay money out of your pocket. You can get help, and it's fair. And then number two, you need the lawyer if you're actually hurt, because if you're actually hurt, you're not going to get.
You can say this two ways. And the way you got to say it is and we know from studies, you've got to address the fear. And the fear comes from, whether it's in movies or TV shows, or maybe they've even heard real stories. Hey, what gets the story? What gets publicized? It's the crazy one. It's the one that's way out in left field. Lawyer cheats client, or lawyer steals. And so people come in with a concern. Is this the right thing to do, or am I just going to lose money? So we have to address that. And the best way to address the lie is you tell them what the truth is. And really and truly, we know from insurance companies' own studies, when you get a lawyer, you get more money. That's the truth. Mm-hmm. When you get a good, competent lawyer, you get more money in your pocket. If it's all about money, let's just start there. If it's all about money, well, then you want to get a good, competent lawyer, because you'll get more money. All right, number two, if you care about becoming whole, if you care about getting to the right doctors and making sure you got the best care, those that get the best care go to a lawyer. Now, you've got to go to the right one. You can't just go to a TV guide lawyer, or, somebody that's blowing steam out, yelling and screaming on TV. But the truth is, and I'm okay saying this, as much as it sounds like it's self-serving, the truth is that when you get somebody with a good heart, a solid, competent, educated, and experienced brain that cares about your case, you're going to get more money, and you're going to get better medical care. That's it. That's the truth. I'm convinced of it. And so the problem is not every law firm provides that, but a lot of them do. I would say, and I want to speak for the profession. This isn't just me. What most people see are just the TV ads, the people that are scaling their business. And so by scaling their business, they give everybody mediocre service. That happens, and that's in the spotlight, but that's the minority. Most of the good trial lawyers in Dallas and across Texas care about people, care about justice, want to bring good to the situation. You just got to look for that. You got to look for that. And I'm proud to be part of a profession. As many times as there's jokes, there's jokes. We'll take it. I like a joke as much as anyone. And there's also oddballs out there that reinforce the joke. As many of that's out there. Most good, competent lawyers with a heart are going to get people more money, and they're going to get better medical care. It happens all the time in our office.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. That's the best thing about
Is
this.
that too much?
No,
Preaching too much?
I literally, because all the questions I had here, I had little bullet points. Like, for example, this one says, the "we'll take care of you" lie, and you talked about it.
Yeah.
The "you're in good hands." So you kind of nailed all the stuff I was going to have you talk about without me even asking. You kind of just went on a spiel, which is perfect because that's what I can clip and I can edit.
Yeah.
So I mean, you really, that's exactly what I need out of you.
One of the insurance says is "you're in good hands." That's a lie. The other one says, "like a good neighbor." We're going to be there for you like a good neighbor. Baloney. Baloney. Like a good neighbor. You're in good hands. No, you're not. They're in business to make money. They're in business to make money. The way you make money is you don't pay premiums, or you pay as little as possible. And therefore they've spent millions of dollars implying and subtly telling people through advertisements, stay away from lawyers.
Yeah.
So
it's okay. Let me ask you this last question before we go. I mean, so you should. So if you have insurance, you obviously you want insurance. But if insurances are always trying to cheat, then when you have insurance, what's the point of insurance? I don't know. Like, I don't even know what I'm trying to ask. Is like when you have insurance, you have to have insurance, and then once you have insurance, you have to get a lawyer to get the most out of your insurance. Is that kind of the deal?
doesn't that sound crazy? And how great would it be? You think about the insurance industry. How great would it be if there was a law that said everybody has to buy from Reese? There's a law. You have to have insurance. Man, I want to be a part of an industry where people have no choice. You have to hire me. And not only that, but when it's my turn to pay you back, prove it. I make you go get a lawyer and come after me, and I can delay it for 3 years and invest your money for 3 years. Yeah. So that's why I'm. Let me tell you something. You want to get rid of the lawyers? Get rid of the insurance companies.
Yeah.
Make it where everybody's got to. Make it where when you get hurt, we're going to just pay you without the fight. If we had people that were helping people that got hurt out of the kindness of their heart, out of the goodness of humanity, we don't need the lawyers. The problem's not the lawyers. And I know I'm a little bit on my soapbox. There are some problem lawyers. But yes, You're right. You pay for the insurance. And then one of our mottos, one of my mottos when I'm in front of a jury is all we want is to be paid what we paid them to pay.
Mm-hmm.
We just want the deal. We've been paying year after year after year these premiums for this event.
Yeah.
In anticipation that one day in the future I might get hurt. Let me pay you now so that I can know I'm in good hands. I can know that you're going to be a good neighbor when I get hurt. And it reverses. They delay it. They make you go and prove it to a jury. Many times they settle right before you get in front of a jury. But I'm proud to be a part of it.
Because they know they're going to lose. They we're going to go all the way to the kind of like Jerry Jones, the contract we were talking about.
I think we've come full circle. Full circle on today's comment. Many times the person with the money. There's an old saying that negotiation, possession of the money is 90% of the negotiation. Who has possession of the money? Well, the insurance company has it. In that case, it's Jerry Jones that has it. So they have the leverage. and they can delay it as long as they want. The rest of us are now trying to weigh what's more important, time or money.
Yeah.
If you'll remember, you may not remember because you weren't born yet, but Emmitt Smith held out just like Michael Parsons did. Huh?
For like 3 games, and then we won the Super Bowl.
Hang on. We won the Super Bowl before. Then we lost game number 1. Then we lost game number 2. And the players and the coaches are like, we need Emmitt. We need Emmitt. So Jerry pays. So I don't know. Maybe
did we win the Super Bowl that year?
Maybe there's no sacks. Maybe as a result of Parsons not being there, we get. Problem is if we do well.
I think he's gonna play, and they're probably gonna pay him right before the season. But yeah, I mean, it's just the whole shebang. But man, this was a good show. We have a lot of good stuff we talked about. Really good second episode. I'm really excited for the new camera, the new microphones. We're gonna really upgrade this show and just keep improving it. So for those of you who are watching, it's going to just continue getting better. This is just the start. And the videos
for those of you who are bored, don't give up.
No, it's been fun. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy the educational side, and people will skip through things they want to learn, and it'll be really good for the social media. But overall, really happy with it. So if you guys are on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, follow the podcast. If you're watching this on, Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, then yeah, drop a follow. And this was the Case Closed Podcast, Episode 2. We'll be back next week. Every Sunday we release an episode on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So make sure you guys check it out. And the Bonneau Law Firm on all social media. So anyways, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.